Good evening, I'm Chris Nachkite. Welcome to APTN National News. The Indigenous community in Manitoba is in shock tonight after news broke today about the statutory release of Sean Lamb, who went to prison in 2013 for killing 2 First Nations women in Winnipeg. The families and leadership say no one told them this was coming. With the details, here's APTN's TR Wheatley, and a warning: some of the details in this report may be disturbing for some.
It's all been a shock of emotions for the families of Lorna Blacksmith and Carolyn Sinclair, as well as the family of Tanya Neepanak, whose disappearance was tied to Lamb, but those charges were later stayed. They were not notified that the man who took their lives was being released from prison, and only found out when APTN reached out.
As of November 7 at 11:30.
Sue Caribou is the aunt of 25-year-old Carolyn Sinclair and 31-year-old Tanya Neepanak.
I don't know why the justice system would keep releasing somebody that's so dangerous to the community. My family deserves to be contacted. Now I don't know where he lives. Now I don't know, I just have mixed emotions.
She's referring to Lamb's checkered past, which the parole board reviewed, including sexual and physical assaults and robbery. There are conditions in Lamb's release, including that he reside at a designated community-based residential facility or psychiatric facility approved by the Correctional Service of Canada for 6 months. He must also not consume drugs or alcohol for the duration of his release and immediately report all sexual and non-sexual relationships and friendships. Lamb must also not associate or communicate with any person he knows or has reason to believe is involved in criminal activity. Parts of Lamb's release plan have been blacked out. While we don't know where he is moving, it says he plans to reside in transition housing, receive assistance, and that he has an offer of accommodation with a contact he has maintained for a number of years. Grand Chief Kyra Wilson of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs is disappointed the families, the First Nations they come from, nor any leadership were given this news before it happened.
And this information should be forthcoming to not only the families, but to everyone to be able to take proper precautions and safety measures.
According to the Parole Board of Canada, Lamb is a Status First Nations man from the Aamjiwnaang First Nation in Ontario. He was apprehended by Children's Aid as part of the 60 Scoop and adopted into a Caucasian foster family. Lamb described his foster parents as sadistic alcoholics and say he was subjected to psychological, physical, and sexual abuse. Because he is Indigenous, Lamb was not subjected to what's called a statistical information on recidivism scale, which estimates the probability of reoffending within a specific time frame. Wilson says the justice system failed these families and instead sided with the offender.
They need to have some sort of consequence to that. And in this case, 3 women were targeted. And to me, it's not about race. It's about making sure that we're keeping communities safe.
Something Carolyn and Tanya's aunt agrees with, going even further, saying for far too long, Lamb has used mental illness as an excuse.
All of us have that. We all need help, and we all need to talk to an elder or someone once in a while, but we don't go and kill somebody because of our mental illness. We get help.
In June 2012, Lamb was charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder for 25-year-old Carolyn Sinclair, 18-year-old Lorna Blacksmith, and 31-year-old Tanya Neepanak. Blacksmith and Sinclair's remains were found in garbage bins near his apartment. In court, it was revealed he had cut them into pieces. Charges on Neepanak were stayed as there was not enough evidence. It's believed her remains ended up in the Brady landfill. A search there is expected to begin in December for Neepanak, as well as another woman, Ashley Shingus from St. Teresa Point. She was killed by a serial killer in 2022. Her aunt Sue is looking to that search now, hoping and praying Tanya's remains can be found and that Lamb can be charged and that her family will get justice. TR Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And if you are affected by these stories, supports are available 24/7 through the MMIWG support line. That number is 1-844-413-6649. In 3 separate and unrelated incidents, 3 youth have been reported missing since last week in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. Police are now asking for the public's help in finding them. 14-year-old Mary Charles was last seen on November 1st in the 2700 block of 6th Avenue East in Prince Albert, wearing a black sweater, black pants, and black shoes. 12-year-old Kelston Ballantyne was last seen on November 5th in the 2800 block of Bradbury Drive in Prince Albert, wearing a black hat, gray hoodie, joggers, and black and white Jordan shoes. And 16-year-old Trinity Netmaker was last seen on November 7th in the 1800 block of Central Avenue, wearing a black jacket, black pants, and black shoes. If anyone knows the whereabouts of these teenagers, you are asked to contact Prince Albert Police at 306-953-4222 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Dozens gathered outside the Federal Court of Appeal in downtown Ottawa for the second time this fall. They were there to support the Kabowik First Nations legal battle against the proposed Chalk River nuclear waste site. This is the second rally and protest since October. That's when federal court heard Canadian Nuclear Laboratories appealed a decision that it failed to properly consult First Nations on a proposed low-level radioactive depository near Chalk River, Ontario. This time, the court heard CNL's application for a judicial review of the species at risk ruling and the decision that invalidated its permit to build at Chalk River. However, Kabowik says the project will pose a threat to the land and animals and says it could be a matter of months to hear a decision. But they hope the court rules CNL's permit is invalid and will send it back for reconsideration.
Which basically argued that the species at risk basically says that you must look at all reasonable alternatives or locations for a project. And in this instance here, that wasn't the case. Basically, they only looked at locations that were owned by CNL and or AECL, and that's not what the Act says. The Act says you're supposed to look at all reasonable alternatives, not just those that are easiest for you.
Northern Myotis. Golden-winged warbler. Golden-winged warbler.
And for Kabowik, one of those responsibilities is, being a voice for the voiceless. The land, the water, the air, the trees, the animals, the fish, they don't have a voice. And it's, to me, the responsibilities of Indigenous peoples, of the Algonquin Nation, to speak for those voices here.
The Correctional Investigator of Canada held a press conference on his final report on Wednesday. This latest one focuses on mental health and how a lack of access to treatment for Indigenous inmates needs to be improved. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
Speaking to reporters in Ottawa on Wednesday morning, Ivan Zinger said corrections needs to improve mental health supports for Indigenous prisoners by putting more resources into community-run healing lodges, a program he said has been historically underutilized.
Only about 2% of Indigenous prisoners are held in Section 81 healing lodges. The vacancy has, there's a little bit more occupancies in some of those healing lodges. But to date, we haven't seen, the service hasn't come up with concrete increases in healing lodge beds.
Senator Kim Pate has long advocated for the rights of Indigenous people in the justice system. She agreed corrections often misclassifies Indigenous prisoners, making them ineligible for lower security healing lodges.
The classification system has been identified by the Canadian Human Rights Commission as racist, as discriminatory on the basis of race, sex, and disability, people with mental health issues, racialized people, and women. And so disproportionately Indigenous women and men, but particularly women, are more likely to be classified as higher security.
Zinger's report makes a number of findings, including discrimination continues to hamper access of Indigenous inmates to mental health supports, access to culturally based mental health services is lacking, and continuity of mental health care for Indigenous people upon release is poor. The report also recommends more mental health support services be provided at the community level rather than within correctional institutions. Pate said it is not surprising corrections has been unsuccessful since they have not provided any funding to support the request.
They've basically been saying to me and to many others, including the correctional investigator, oh, no service wants to contract with us. Well, you can imagine oversubscribed health services, being approached by Correctional Service of Canada and them saying, would you like to take these folks?
After 8 years in the job, Zinger is retiring 2 years before his current term expires. He said one of the reasons for his decision is too little movement from the government on addressing the gross overrepresentation of Indigenous people in the prison system.
Indigenous prisoners that are serving time in Canadian penitentiaries are more likely to be classified as maximum security prisoners. They're more likely to serve a greater proportion of their sentence in custody than non-Indigenous people. They're more likely to attempt suicide, self-harm, to be transferred involuntarily outside their communities.
In a press release, Public Safety Minister Gary Anasangri says he continues to work closely with the Office of the Correctional Investigator, and this includes addressing the overrepresentation of Indigenous people in the federal corrections system. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
It would seem the city of Iqaluit is one step closer to hydroelectric power over diesel. That story when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Expectations are high that a hydroelectric project northwest of Iqaluit will be among 5 projects to be announced this Thursday by Prime Minister Mark Carney. Like other communities in Nunavut, Iqaluit relies on diesel power generation. The territory has already been working on a hydroelectric generating station on the Kugaluk River. Originally run by the Kulik Energy Corporation, the project stalled in 2014 due to high costs. It was later taken over by Nunavut Nakiksa Otit Corporation. The project got federal support to the tune of $4 million in 2022. There was another $6 million federal investment announced earlier this year. Once completed, the facility is expected to produce 15 to 30 megawatts of electricity and drive the territory further towards switching its power reliance to renewable energy. An Indigenous Education Institute in Thunder Bay will soon be offering its own programming thanks to recently acquired academic accreditation from the Ontario government. It comes as the Institute finds itself in the early stages of expansion, which could include a new campus. APTN's Mike McDonald reports.
The journey of Oshki Pimashewin, the Wenjack Education Institute, otherwise known as Oshki Wenjack, began in 1996 when the chiefs of the Anishinaabe Nation gave the institute a mandate to provide post-secondary education to youth within its territory.
We service 49 of the Anishinaabe communities. We serve from Treaty 5, from the Manitoba border all the way to the Quebec border. So we have the eastern, western. 35 of our communities are flying communities and the rest are road access.
Because Oshki Wenjack serves such a large area, officials here acknowledge the wide range of experiences the students bring with them, and they tailor their programming accordingly.
We meet the students where they're at. We understand their context of coming from the far north in remote and rural communities, which is very different than southern urban centers, including Thunder Bay. Just the busyness and the noise and it's just very different. And we try and make sure that they're protected, that they're safe, that we answer their questions, and we can kind of do what we can to support to make the situation a little bit easier on them.
With the skilled trades in high demand, the director of trades at Oshki Wenjack says it's a popular program.
We're really proud of the growth of our department, and that just speaks to the overall interest into entry into the skilled trades. In our last year, we graduated 55 graduates in level 1 apprenticeships, including carpentry, welding, electrical, in addition to DISA drivers.
Oshki Wenjack also offers training in the healthcare field. Samantha Nanakisik, who is originally from Kitchinimikusa Beninawug, or Big Trout Lake First Nation, is training to be a personal support worker, having always had an interest in healthcare.
I did do some sort of personal support worker when I was in high school. In my reserve, I worked with the elderly. But as a student, I was just more sense of watching. I wasn't actually taking care, changing them per se. I was maintaining the house, watching over them, taking them shopping. So I already get a sense of what it is, and I always love doing that, so it's stuck with me.
Oshkie Wenjack was recently granted full accreditation from the Government of Ontario, and Deschamps says the Institute will begin offering its own courses in 2027.
We'll be an independent institute. I'm hoping that we will get capital, have a new campus, grow our student numbers, be the institute of choice for our Anishinaabe communities.
Even though Oshkie Wenjack has received its accreditation, it will continue to partner with other post-secondary schools on certain programs such as nursing. As they get set to unveil the first course offerings, officials say they will consult with Anishinaabe communities on educational priorities. Mike McDonald, APTN National News, Thunder Bay.
For a handful of Indigenous kids, their dreams did come true with a sudden trip to Disney World. That story with Kim Sullivan when we come back. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Time now for our photo of the day. Dorothy Ratch sent in this photo of her great-grandfather, Sidney Monkman, of the George Gordon First Nation in Treaty 4 territory known today as Southern Saskatchewan. Dorothy tells us her great Mushum served in both World War I and World War II. From all of us at APTN News, a big thank you to all of our Indigenous veterans for your service and sacrifice, including to Sidney Monkman, and thanks to Dorothy for sharing with us. For the chance to be our next photo of the day, send us your photos to share at aptn.ca. Time now for tomorrow's weather forecast. On the East Coast, Halifax 5, Charlottetown 5. Cartwright 1 and sunny, La Grande River 1. Quebec City, cloudy and 1, Montreal 2. 4 in Sault Ste. Marie, Windsor 8. Sudbury 4, Thunder Bay 3. Churchill 0, Norway House -1. Cloudy in Winnipeg at 0, Princess Harbour -1. Yorkton 0, Regina 4. Uranium City -6, L'Orange 1. Cloudy in Grand Prairie at 1, Fort McMurray -1. Sunny in Lethbridge at 17, Edmonton 2. 11 in Vancouver, Bella Coola 0. -6 in Fort Nelson, sunny in Dease Lake at -4. -14 in Dawson, Beaver Creek sunny and -15. Fort Simpson -8, sun's out in Watee at -12. -26 in Sax Harbor, Polituck -19. -11 in Baker Lake, Chesterfield sunny and -8. And Resolute -9, Iqaluit +1. It's the most magical place on earth, and for many, a trip to Disney World is something they would have never thought possible. But for 8 Mohawk children from Ganawage, Akwesasne, and 2 Wendat from Wendigo, dreams became reality thanks to the Air Canada Foundation and Dreams Take Flight Montreal. APTN's Kim Sullivan was there from the moment they found out, and she takes us along this magical adventure.
Tuesday, 4 a.m. Hundreds of children take off on a dream flight. But it was a week earlier that they found out the news. These 4 children from the Mohawk territory of Ganawage had no idea what to expect when they walked into the Air Canada hangar in Montreal. Why were they here? Among fire trucks, police cars, helicopters, jets, and princesses? They were about to find out.
You know where we're going to be taking you in a couple of weeks? Disney World, Florida.
Complete shock, then excitement.
What I really want to see is the Minions.
There were some nerves in the air too, from the kids and their parents.
I'm nervous for him. I'm scared to let my baby go.
The Air Canada Foundation and Dreams Take Flight have been collaborating together for over 3 decades to help bring a little magic to deserving children with disabilities, difficulties, or from disadvantaged backgrounds, with chapters in 8 different Canadian cities. This year, the Montreal chapter gave 174 kids the opportunity to escape their daily routine for a day with a round trip to Disney World Orlando. Captain Frédéric Bélanger is involved with this dream flight since its debut.
This is the best flight I do by far from the whole year. To see 170 kids boarding the aircraft, they've got huge smiles on their face. Some of them don't even know where we're going until a couple of days ago or until today, and it just makes it a special flight, and it makes my job even better.
The non-for-profit also depends on the 135 volunteers that help make the magic happen. Most come back year after year, like Ken Borick, who's been volunteering with this flight for 25 years.
Just to see the smiles on their faces, because that's what every volunteer who works for Dreams Take Flight does this whole everything for, is the smile on their face.
These 4 little girls from the First Nation of Akwesasne can't stop smiling.
We're going to Disney!
The Akwesasne Police, Ganawage Peacekeepers, and their fire department were also there to make the day fun and support their communities.
I've been coming to this event over 15 years.
You see the looks on the children around here. It's magical. There's nothing really quite like it.
The excitement is very contagious.
Cody Daibo, Grand Chief of Ganawage, once took part in the initiative as a peacekeeper and fully understands the impact it has on the kids.
I think for them it's just going to be a lifetime of memories, remembering that they got to do it and then share that as they grow up.
With that, all that was left was to wait for departure day. Small eyes, hearts full of joy, and butterflies in their bellies. For many of them, this was their first flight. Once everyone cleared customs, the children were about to experience one of those unforgettable moments that would stay with them forever. The hours that followed were nothing short of magical. Sunshine welcomed the group as they arrived in Florida. Parades down Main Street, snacks, and a whole array of spectacular worlds, from traveling high speed through space to exploring the bayous of New Orleans with Princess Tiana and a few splashes, diving under the sea with Ariel, visiting a haunted house,
there's no turning back now,
or soaring on a flying carpet. And let's not forget meeting the one and only Mickey. A day full of laughter and delights, wrapped up in a burst of euphoria. It was now time to say goodbye to Disney World to begin our journey back home. A journey that was much quieter, at least if the snoring was ignored. And in that quiet, the magic of the trip still lingers.
It was the best day ever.
Kim Sullivan, APTN National News, Disney World Orlando, and Montreal.
Great story, Kim, and such a great trip for the youth. And that's your evening newscast for this Wednesday, November 12th. We're back again for your daytime newscast tomorrow. Please join us then. From our studio in downtown Winnipeg, Kanasko Mitten, Miigwech, Hi Zepka, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.